Today too, I want to talk about art late at night, since this is a channel where I draw manga illustration. I would like to show you my time-lapse video and explain that there are different ways to draw pictures. I hope that some of this information will be helpful. Talking about pictures like this, well, that kind of thing. I have talked about the logic and methods in other places before, but the comments I received at that time were things like, "This is a color story, so it probably won't work in a manga." I received such a comment, but I am just conveying the knowledge that I thought was correct at the time. How to make use of it and how to apply it is up to each person who sees it, rather than just deciding that something can't be used in a manga. I want people to observe information on their own to see if it can be used or not, and then decide for themselves what can be used and what can't be used, and use what can be used as much as possible. I think so. About that much, I think it is okay to be a little more active and ambitious. Don't just be on the receiving end. Think about that yourself. Yes. Let's get started. Thank you. First of all, what I draw this time is picture of a stagbeetle, and I will start by drawing out the rough shape of the main stagbeetle. At this point, not so much. Roughly, it doesn't matter, it's just 2 circles or something like that, but I start by putting at least a little bit of the image in my mind of how I want it to look on canvas. It doesn't matter if it's a rough shape, but I will take a rough silhouette so that I can clearly understand in my head what to put where. Next, gradually fill in the details. I start drawing from a place that I think is easy to draw, using photo as a reference. Then, little by little, you will see the completed drawing, and after you have draw most of parts that understand and can draw about, you can start working on the parts that are a little more difficult for you to understand, and the parts that are difficult for you to reproduce. I think it's easier to find the correct answer when all the pieces of the puzzle are filled in to a certain extent, so that's the way I do it. The trick is that, for example, stagbeetles and beetles, when drawing a creature whose symbol is a horn, draw the horn larger than the actual things to emphasize it. The reason for this is that drawings are a little different from live action or real objects, and they have to be symbolized and deformed. We have to clarify its characteristics. Professionals also draw about the features of the product so that they are the first thing that people notice. So if it's a stagbeetle, the horns are fine, so I will draw the horns clearly. In fact, when I look at the photos, I sometimes think they look a little shabby. I'm a little disappointed that this is the real thing, because it has such a small home. But when I blow about it, the presence of the symbol becomes so weak that it doesn't really stand out as a picture. It becomes plain. I end up with a picture that doesn't show the part I want to show. That's why, in fact, if you draw the corners larger, it looks more real. This is ironic, isn't it? After all, that's what painting is all about. Yeah. It takes a lot of time to improve your drawing skills. What is this? I think that even if you just draw what you see, it won't turn out to be a good picture. In my mind, I thought it would be better to draw strongly about the parts that I thought should be emphasized, and to omit his lines here and there. It's not an easy task because you will need to carefully select information such as omitting drawing simply or making it less noticeable. When you feel like this isn't the place to make a particular statement. I think that's the reason why you can't get better in one day. If you really want to emphasize something, emphasize it more than the reality. I get the impression that you prioritize the image in your mind over the thought. Good people can be this. I think this story is like an idea. The word idea was said by the philosopher Plato. And for example, there is the triangle. There is a triangle that is surrounded by 3 straight lines, and when we see it, we recognize it as a triangle, right? Oh, this is triangle, but think about it carefully. The definition of a triangle is a figure surrounded by 3 straight lines, but that straight line isn't really a straight line in the strict sense of the word. In real life, the straight lines of triangles that we usually see are slightly distorted and are not straight lines, no matter how accurately you draw them, due to this distort caused by rulers. But we can clearly recognize it as a triangle, right? The reason why we can recognize it is because we have a creative triangular shapes called an idea in our heads. By projecting it onto reality, we can finally recognize it as a triangle. I guess it's like comparing them. I think that drawing a picture is exactly the process of translating this idea onto canvas. So, when drawing the real thing, I think it would be better to give priority to that image in your mind, so that it would look more real and realistic. Let's practice together so that we can embody the image we have in mind. So, I forgot to mention that when I draw these kinds of live action creatures, or when I draw about live action things, I color them, but colors don't come from the eyedropper from that photo, but from my own. I think it would be better to try and find out if this is this color. A dropper that doesn't take with a dropper. After all, photograph and painting are two different things, so it's better to believe what you see with your own eyes. If you use a dropper to take different colors from different places, you won't be able to get consistency. If you don't think about the colors while choosing them and paint them with the colors you have in mind, the image you have in your mind will inevitably grasp. It inevitably gives an inconsistent impression. Unless you are very experienced, the pictures often end up looking strange and inconsistent. Seeing colors is a really good practice for drawing, so I will do my best to pick out the colors myself. You can modify the picture as many times as you like, and it will get closer and closer to the image you have in mind. It's like a battle of guts. Now, I would like you to take a look at these two photos. Well, let's call them 1 and 2. So, when asked which one looks better, I think everything would probably answer 2. The reason why 1 is not good is that the shading method and shape are same for 1 and 2. But in 1, you can see the brush strokes. When people see something that looks like brush strokes, they are immediately brought back to reality. I have to make people think that there really is a stagbeetle on this canvas. You have to make people think it's not a painting. You have to make them feel like he is here. You have to make them feel like you are intuitive. When you see brush marks, you started to think that this is a painted picture. When traces of lines are clearly left behind, I am suddenly brought back to reality. I need to hide or erase these line marks. I know it's a pain, but in my case, it takes a lot of time to erase these brush marks with an airbrush. This is taking quite a while. However, it will obviously look better. So this is no harm in doing it. I recommend it. I've mostly finished drawing the stagbeetle, so next I draw the 3 trunk and leaves. Each piece of wood have a back like a tie, so if you draw that one tile, you can copy and paste it. I'm going to stretch it out, make it mushy with mesh deformation, give it a random feel, and keep increasing it. Here, if you draw the traces of the trees in detail, it will become more like that again. Do this in detail so that you can see the traces of the lines. We will reproduce the bark of the tree. If you can do most of it, you will be fine. I'm not putting that much effort into it. This area is not the main focus, so there is a lot of rooms to cut corners. For the most part, I'd say it's good things. This is a trick, but isn't it difficult to draw background for comics? Isn't it background really difficult? Even if you draw a randomly drawn background, if you apply a slight Gaussian law, it will look quite similar. I will also draw the leaf. Once you have drawn one seed, you can transform it into a mesh again and create about 3 different shapes. Okay. Then all you have to do is copy and paste this. Make it smaller, make it bigger, and increase it. Like this, I painted the parts of the leaves that are glowing underneath, where the shadows are likely to hit black. Around here. Next, I tried drawing sunlight filtering through the trees. Roughly take the shape of the shadow about 70% of the screen, fill it in, and then use an eraser to erase shadows between the sunlight filtering through the trees. Some of the shadows are clearly defined, while others are blurry, so I use soft brush like an airbrush to adjust these areas. There are a lot of techniques I haven't mentioned yet, but I've completed them for now. Well, if you have any comments like, "Oh, I already got the role," please let me know, because I think, oh, there is a demand for this. I think I'd like to do it little by little. I will do my best to answer any questions you may have, so please take care of me. For today, I will leave it that. Thank you very much.